It is my privilege and joy that we can continue our Bible study about the present truth as we find it in the book of Deuteronomy. We have today our last lecture in this series, and it's entitled The Resurrection of Moses. We know that Moses had to die because he sinned. And later he was resurrected by Christ, and he came to encourage Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. I think it's important to know that part out of the history of Moses and God's plan to resurrect his servant. But there is something that is very important for our time and very fitting to the present truth, and that is the song of Moses. And so I would like to speak more about the song of Moses because it is decisive to understand this for us today. We read in Revelation 15, 2-4, as the 144,000 stay on the sea of glass, and it says, "And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest." So here we have something that Moses had to teach the people that we are going to sing for our time. So what is this song? But before we look to the song, let us read the Bible verses that describe the way how God ordered this to Moses and to Joshua to teach this song to the children of Israel from generation to generation, as we see also for the last generation that we have arrived to be. I read from Deuteronomy chapter 31 from verse 18. "And I will surely hide my face in that day, for all the evils which they shall have wrought in that day that they turned unto other gods. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it the children of Israel. Put it in their mouth, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves, and waxen fat, then will they turn unto other gods, and serve them, and provoke me, and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as witness. For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouth of their seed. For I know their imagination, which they go about even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. I, Moses, therefore wrote this song the same day, and taught it the children of Israel." Now this song we find written in Deuteronomy chapter 32. It's one of the most important passages that we should know for our time, because it describes those questions that we have put ourselves as we started this study to ask ourselves, who is God? Who is God? And the Song of Moses reveals God to us. And as we see also the people. And if you want to understand it from the terminology of a Seventh-day Adventist, then the Song of Moses is nothing else than the three angels' messages. We have so often used this name that it became popular, but most that use the term have never understood what the three angels' messages are. But if you want to pay attention to the Song of Moses, you will see that God has given to Moses nothing else. Because these three messages, yes, they are written for our time, especially the second and the third. But the center, which is the first angel's message, is in this book. And it is in this song, I wanted to say. So let's see, and going in so that we at least superficially see it. And I hope you're encouraged to study it for yourself. I studied this song since I discovered it early after my conversion. And I want to sing it with that crowd at the end and have the victory over idolatry. So what does God say here? He is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he. What an image of God. And then when the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. So here we have God, and here we have his children, where he put them, and how he divided the world according to the number of the children of Israel. And here are the children of Israel, his people. And if you see the picture, you see them, most of them from the back, because they turned their back to God, even though we will see how he cared for them all the time since he called them to be his children. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. They turn their back to God, his people. Do ye thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he thy father that hath brought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? What a question. He found him in a desert land and in a waste howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. What could he do more for him? He kept him as the apple of his eye. He took care for him in a marvelous way. As an eagle stirreth up the nest, fluttereth over the young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taken them, beareth them on her wings. So the Lord alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, the gods whom they knew not, the new gods. And I put this underlined, I highlighted this so that we understand that we have today also a new God whom the whole world is bowing down before. A new one, not known before, that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger. I will heap mischief upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. That is his judgment. Because for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Now, if this is not fitting to the so-called people of God today, then we have not understood. There is no understanding of us in that what happens in the world. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their later end. To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. Yes, that is coming. For the Lord shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants. That is, he will take care of his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, where are their gods, their rock in whom they trusted? See now that I, even I, am he that there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. So don't forget this, because I highlighted them. Because we believe today there is someone else who kills. But God says, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. God who called Jacob and did everything for the people. As a summary, I concluded. And his people who have had all the privileges turned their backs on him and serve foreign gods. And in his song, his judgment over his people come, and over the whole world. A remnant remains, the faithful. He says he will be kind to them, and they will end the song, rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, because God has judged the world. He has judged the unfaithful. So here we see the 144,000 singing the song of Moses and the Lamb, which includes the victory over idolatry. Now, have you ever wondered, how could people be idolaters? How could they, when they know God, how could they in the desert already make the golden calf? How deep is idolatry into our own, that the devil can tempt us with it? It is very deep. And it will be shown in this last battle as we are, because here we are living in the time of the beast and of his image and of his mark and of the number of his name. And we must have the victory over it and sing this song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. And if you see the context where this happens in Revelation, you see it is just before the 7 plagues are brought upon the earth. So they are shown as the one that have the victory over it, because God is a faithful judge and he judges the earth. Now, we must understand the beast, his image, his mark, and the number of his name. If not, if we don't understand it, how can we have the victory over it? So let us make a fast journey into this topic. Yes, it will be an overview, but we will go deeper into it as we will go into next quarter, where we will study the book of Hebrews in these last days. And we will see that the book of Hebrews was, as the Song of Moses, was written for us. In this book, we will see the end and of the plan of salvation. And I'm looking forward to that study. So here a overview, and as God will help us during the next quarter, we will go deeper and see the things and study them. And it should be something that also provokes you to study deeper the things and not remain within superficial understanding of the Word of God. And only he who digs deep will find the treasures that are hidden there. So we have the beast. The beast is described in Revelation 13, 1 and 2, and it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and to his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So we know the dragon is Satan, and the beast arises up and comes because it has the authority of Satan. Now, what is the beast? in the Bible prophecy, a beast is the power of the state. It's a state power, a king. And they all arise from water, that is, they come up through wars, one head after the other. But then we find in Revelation 17, the woman sitting on this beast. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, what is the woman that sitteth on the beast? Now, a woman is in prophecy a spiritual power, the ecclesiastical power. So that is because the domination of a state comes from a, so to say, spiritual power. So the picture shows that the state has political power, but the political power is under the power of the teaching of that woman. So as the spirit controls matter, just as the spirit of man controls the body of man by means of spiritual information. I pictured it so that we know that we have a spirit, he is inside of us, in our head, but just to understand that everything we move in our body is moved by our spirit through what we think and decide. So as our spirit moves upon us, the same way there must be a doctrine, a teaching, an ideology, a religion behind every form of government. So there never was a government that didn't have a teaching, an ideology at the bottom of it. So we sometimes think it's money that rules the world, but it's not really true. Money are a means by which power is used, but the power in a state, it is his teaching. That which is behind of it is always a spiritual matter. So never the state had the power over religion. It's always the opposite, because that which is spiritual guides that which is physical. And so we could say the state is a physical thing and the teachings are the spiritual things. And there is no state, there is no government that is not governed by a doctrine, by a teaching, by something spiritual. So having said that, let us look to the history of the world. In the history of the world, religions, doctrines, ideologies have determined the state power. And a woman is the symbol of it. As well, the clean as well as the unclean, or the whore woman. Now we look to that woman that is described in Zechariah 5:5-11. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes, and see what is this that goeth forth. And I said, What is it? When he said, This is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. So there's a woman inside the ephah. And he said, This is wickedness. So the woman, the whore, or the unclean woman, has a name. It is wickedness. It is the opposite of godliness. It is lawless. This is the wicked woman. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, Whither do these bear the ephah? And he said unto me, To build it an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. The land of Shinar is, as you all know, Babylon. So we come to that point to see that Babylon is a teaching. It is wickedness. It's a woman. It's a wicked woman. And since there are only 2 sources of spiritual information, only 2 women come into question as symbols for teachings, ideologies, and religions. So it's One's the clean woman, the pure woman that stands for the truth, which comes from God, the God's teaching. And the other woman is the whore that stands for the lie, which comes from Satan. And that is called Babylon. That means confusion. So having understood that the woman has a teaching, it's a spiritual power. According to the Bible, all forms of government are controlled by the whore, by Babylon. That's what the picture shows. That the power over this states is a spiritual power. And that's why we understand that the dragon is behind it to give him the power, because he works through a message, through lies. He must have a teaching by which the humans must follow his deceptions. So, let's come back to Revelation 17, 9 and 13. It says, "And here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth." Now we go a little bit deeper to want to see the heads of the beast, because it's not by accident that it has 7 heads and 10 horns on one of the heads and even 10 crowns. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. So the 7 heads are mountains, because a mountain was described also as kingdoms. So biblical prophecy is repeating itself. It shows again and again the same pattern. And the 7 heads are not just mountains, they are 7 kings. So they are kingdoms with 7 kings. And now it says 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So who are these heads? Because it's important to know them, especially to identify for our time what is the beast. So we know the first is Babylon. There's the lion face. Then comes Medo-Persia. Then comes Greece. Then Rome. Then Papal Rome. And that what made the wound, the deadly wound to Papal Rome, was France or Europe. It was the 6th. So those are there. 5 are fallen, 1 is. And 2 have still to come, or 1 is to come, and we will see then the beast is the 8th of it. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. So we know when the beast comes, it is the last power that will go until Jesus comes. We know from other Bible passages, the king that is at the end will go, and God will kill him with, Jesus will kill him with the breath of his mouth. So that's why the 144,000 sing the song over the beast, because it's the last power. It's that power over which come the 2nd and the 3rd angel's message and the 7 plagues and the judgments of God. So, and then 10 horns, which thou sawest, are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So we know this 10 kings, they might be on one of the heads, and they will receive power for a certain time. It says here an hour, Luther translates for 1 time with the beast. These have 1 mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beasts. So, what remains? I'm not yet 100% sure about the 7th head, but as just in our days there was revealed a beast in front of the UN, it might be the 7th head, which is just for a short time, because it includes the 10 kings. I mean, it includes the whole world, because the number 10 is a complete thing. And they will come together and will give the whole power unto the beast. And the beast itself, the body of the beast, so to say, not the heads, the beast itself is 1 of the 7. And as we know that it was wounded and its wound got healed, it was wound 1 of her heads, and that wound was Papal Rome. And so we know the beast itself it must be the papal Rome. So before we enter into that, I want to show a pattern of how the images of the beast work. Because we must understand what is the beast and what is his image, and then the mark and the name of the beast. So first we have Babylon. Babylon's king was Nebuchadnezzar. He had a dream about his future kingdoms, but he didn't like the idea that his kingdom will have an end. And so he made a statue out of gold, as he saw in his dream, so that his kingdom should never go down. So he made an image of his kingdom, and it was his God. So whenever you make an image, it must be an idol. I mean, it must be something you have to worship, you have to believe in. Because we know he got the whole world at that time, the leaders of the world, to come all and bow down to this image. It must be an idol. It must have divine abilities, omnipresent, must be worldwide. And as his kingdom was worldwide, he said he has to bring the world to bow down because his God, his kingdom cannot go away. It must be eternal, must be immortal. It decides who lives and dies, must be worshipped. That is, you must bow down in front of him. You must obey it, means worship. It must be feared because it can kill you. And all men must acknowledge it as a God. And so it gives everyone their identity. So here we have King Nebuchadnezzar, and we have 3 faithful servants of God. They do not bow down before him, nor are they intimidated. Now, they say, we have a God. We don't need your image. They are faithful, and God delivers them wonderfully. They are just a few, 3, but God comes to them, Jesus comes to them, and they bring victory over the beast. They are a picture for the 144,000. They are a picture for us today that do not bow down in front of the image of the beast, as we will see. So the second head was Medo-Persia, King Darius. He also made himself a god, appointed himself as God for 1 month. Of course, seduced by his counselors, but he liked the idea to be for 1 month the only person who could be worshipped. Yes. And then, of course, he could satisfy all the needs of his people. They should come to him when they had something. He must have divine abilities, omnipresent. He must be there for every one of them, immortal. And he had also to decide who lived and died. He must be worshipped, obeyed, feared. All men must acknowledge him without exception. And he gives everyone their identity. But he had a man. Daniel did not obey the king's command. And he landed up in the lion's den. But when the next day the king came and said, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions?" Well, I like this, what King Darius says, because he understands that he is not a living God. He knows that there is someone that is alive, that is over everything, the only one God. And Daniel responds to him, "My God has sent his angel and has shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me. And also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt." You see, when you are in the will of God, you cannot hurt a man. Yes, man may do wrong legislation, but you won't break them, because Daniel recognizes that he was innocent before God, and so he was innocent before the king. Because you cannot be innocent before God and can be faulty before the king. I also like this conscious response of Daniel, giving a rebuke to the king very clearly. It is unlawful that I'm here. But as it happens those days, it happens also with us in our days. And the Lord will work marvelous for us as we will not worship anyone else, will not be dependent on anyone else than our God, our Maker and our Savior. Now, we come back. If we would go now through Greece, to Rome, through papal Rome, we would find that in every time they had an image of their kingdoms. Especially Rome, the Caesars, saw themselves as gods. And the papal Rome, the Pope called himself God on earth. And the French Revolution called themselves God because there was no God for them. So they were God. They had that woman that they put in front of them. So every kingdom proves that they had an image by which they put the people under their dominion. And so now we have the seventh one and the beasts, which will do the same. They are united. And so we want to know now, the beast itself is the Pope, is the papacy, because we know it's one of the seven. It's the fifth head, which now has the whole beast. It's the totality of those powers. It's not a spiritual power, it's a physical power, the papacy. And yes, it has not yet received his political power. It will receive it according to how the world will bow down to its image. So that's why they need an image. In order that it should come again to a political power. I mean, a worldwide political power, as Revelation 17 says it. It must have a means by which it gets there. And here we have the second beasts from Revelation 13 that make something, deceiving the whole world and saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and it lived. Now we know which that beast is. Yes, cannot be another one. So it has to be an image. But this image is not made by the second beast, but the second just tells the world that all men shall make an image of him, the image of the beast. So it's not something that is just done in a certain country. It is something that has to be worldwide. This image must be made through all the men on earth. And it is an image of the beast. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So it's an amazing image. It is not only an idol, but it looks like it's coming alive. It can speak and it can kill as many as do not worship him. So now, what is this image? Can we define it clearly? Now, it must be an idol. It cannot be something that is not existent. I mean, it can be something that is not existent, but it must be there. It must be known by everyone. It must be something that have divine abilities. That means it must be omnipresent. It must be worldwide. It must be eternal, immortal. It can decide who lives and dies. We see that it has that ability. And it must be worshipped. That means you must obey it and you must fear it, because that's how you have to fear a God. And all men must acknowledge it. And it gives to everyone their identity. It means it shows them who they are. Now, what can fit best to the idol? Now, when we understand that the devil had a lot of time since he fell into sin, and since he brought again and again idolatry in the people of God, he had time enough to think for the last deception to be one that no one would understand to be a deception. And he knew that if he would come with an image that would show like religious, then the religious people would be alert and say, wow, this is this is worshiping an idol. So he had to do something that this idol appears as something neutral, as something that is not necessarily a religious thing, so that he can get in the whole world, the religious one and the non-religious one, because there is none that cannot not recognize this idol. And we have it. It's the best ever idol, the best ever false god that the devil could do. I think it took him 6,000 years to get this idea, to fool humanity with one single item that all are worshipping today. And this is it. But it looks like it is alive. So let us read what the Bible says about the image of the beast once again. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now, this image, even though it's something that is dead, it is presented as alive, although it is lifeless. Most people think that this ball with spikes is a live thing. It's something that has even a will. I mean, how can something that is not alive have a will? But you know, in evolution, everything has a will. Even the earth has a will. But that's inanimate. And even a plant has no will. There's only a will in a spiritual thing. That's why he gave to the image of the beast life, or as it says in German, he gave him a spirit. It says that it wants to survive. Now we are in a fight, as we believe in evolution, that the fittest survives. And I don't know, but you might also watch some of the news, because we cannot watch them all, but as it is presented, that can have different forms. It can change itself, because it's smart. It is so smart that if we are not getting beforehand to overcome it by worshiping it, I would say, it will kill us. So that's why we have to do all things to stop it. But we cannot stop it because it's everlasting. Is it alive or is it dead? An image can never be alive. So it's a lie, it's deception into it all. But most people on this earth believe that it is an agent that hijacks our bodies and reproduces itself. That is never possible. But how many believe it? Because they don't know the smartness of the devil, and they don't know the law that something physical cannot do anything by itself, and it cannot reproduce itself. It must be done by someone else, and it must have an origin. Is it an effect or is it a cause? What is it? Where does it come from? Well, if it's a god, then it has no beginning and no end. And that's how it is presented. Then, that the image of the beast should both speak. Now, what does it mean to speak? Now, I took this because it's a little bit ironic, but I said it knows Greek, the language of the gods, because it has Greek names. Isn't it amazing? And it's in its exchange, in its development, will come to the end. It will come to Omega. So it can speak. It's the news are spreading around it. There is no news that is not about it. Oh, it speaks with a loud voice. That as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, has it proven that it has killing power? People believe it. If they don't know the Song of Moses, where God says, I kill and I make alive, they would say, this thing killed millions of people. How do you know? Who can else kill except God? In whose hands is life except in His? That's why the Song of Moses is so important. Because you must fear someone that can kill you. And so fear is put into people. And now that we believe that it has proven its killing power, we must do something to worship it. Now, what did the image of the beast already achieve? It achieved that which was never thought to be possible. All boundaries between countries, between political parties, religions, ideologies, school systems, legal systems, legislation, clubs, companies, and so on, were broken down, were abolished. All are united around this image of a God. You see, we sometimes thought before, when we read prophecy, before we saw its fulfilling in these days, we were thinking, how can the world be united? How can these different political parties come to unity? How can religious people from different entities come to a unity? And we thought about, I don't know what we imagined, but this we didn't imagine. But look, it happens. And you don't need to have the same doctrine, you don't need to have the same teachings if you have the same God. It doesn't matter your teaching, because it's all the same God. And that never happened before in this earth. The devil never had such a great success like with this God. He created many hundreds of years. He worked on it so that he could, boom, give the band. Now all that we have on earth is subject to this one element, without exception. Do you know anything that is not involved or does not evolve around this? At any time in the world, anything got the world captive like this? It never was. That's why I am very astonished to see my friends and brothers and sisters that they don't understand the image. And I will speak a little bit more about our interpretation also in the next quarter. But we must understand, in the moment things happen, we must be able to go down and see if our interpretation of things that we have read is correct or not. I will come to that in a short. Now, what are the worship signs? There must be visible worship signs. And that is the first sign that was introduced in order that man should worship the image of the beast. But now there must be a lot of testing. Now you see, you wear that mask in order to protect you and others. But friend, if this is an outside thing, how do you check it in me? Oh, but maybe it hijacked you before. Now how will you discover that it hijacked me? And how did it come in? Because if it's a physical thing, it cannot do that. Now this is confusion. This is Babylon. You wear a mask for outside thing, but you made the test in yourself. And you say, well, it can only live in you. Well, then does my body do it, or does it produce itself into my body? It's hijacked me. And now, as you can be a transmitter, so-called unconsciously, because you cannot see a nanoparticle, you must test yourself daily. Because you must do that. And people don't see that these are worship acts. You see, I always denied the mask, and I deny every type of testing. Because you test nothing. What will you test? Because it's whose lab? What will you see in that test? It's just lies. And then they come up with the most, how can I say, I mean, when the body is hurt, it's a violent thing to put a serum into your body that saves you from this God, so that it cannot kill you. You might still be affected by it, but it won't be so strong. And since it's so strong, we have to repeat this. And we are already at the third thing. And yes, of course, in some places it's already the fourth. So how many at least are planned? It's 6 of them that are planned. You know why? Because it's not even about the content of it. It's about when you have followed, when you have put into your thoughts the idea that you have an enemy outside of you, and you have repeated certain things of obedience because of this element. After a while, you are unable to discern anything anymore. And this is our problem. Now what goes further on? It says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads. Oh, it goes on. What is the mark? And that no man might buy or sell, save he that has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, what is it? Now we know it already. We know it's a code. It's a mark. Look at here. It's your digital identity, signed by the beast, because you have a number. And in this number you have 666, and you have your own identity. Now, to give an identity to certain elements, to find them better, this QR code is a nice thing for things. But if it becomes the number of a human, that it means that human is a thing. It's just a number. It doesn't matter. It's just a number. Now, to be fraud-proof, because already there is a lot of fraud with this digital identity, you must put it and impregnate it on the skin. You must put it visible on hand or on the forehead. That's how the Bible says it. Now, some people believe, oh, that's not a visible sign. And they come up and say, the sign, the mark of the beast cannot be visible. Then friends, how will you, with an invisible mark, buy and sell? There must be something that identifies you, that gives you a number, that you are able to buy and sell. And you see, with one element, you can introduce everything that you want into this world. If you have this little ball, this little idol, you can rule the whole world as you want it. You can spread any news about it. No one can control you. No one can check you if you're right or wrong, because no one knows it. You must just believe it. So let's make a summary, and then we will continue in our next Bible school and going deeper into it. This is a summary of the plan of salvation and the development on the earth. As a small overview, God created Adam. He had a clear identity because it's all about who we are, who is God and who we are. And as he was a creature of God, he was dependent on God. He served God. But he was tempted and he fell and he changed his identity and he became inside a God, believing that now he can be independent. That separated from him. By the time he separated from God, he united with Satan. And now all his descendants are born separate from God with the wrong identity. We call it sinful nature, the flesh, or however the Bible calls it. And that binds us automatically from inception, from our birth, to humans without a choice. So we cannot worship God in sinful nature. Romans 8 says the flesh cannot worship God because it's opposed to the law. That's why Jesus came into this earth. He was born and conceived by his Father into the womb of Mary through the Holy Spirit. That's why he could connect in the moment of conception with his Father. But he had an enemy here on earth, the dragon. We find it in Revelation 12. He just waits to be born, the baby, and to destroy it. He uses the fourth head, that time in history when he was born, the fourth head, and they tried to kill Jesus, but they didn't. But Jesus, as he was grown up and went into the desert, he had to confront the woman. He had to confront the devil himself, coming as a angel of light with a teaching, which was saying, if you're a God, you can do this, you can do that. And calling Jesus to worship him, taking the contrast from him, and then everything would be good. But Jesus overcame him by the truth that was in him. In himself, he destroyed sinful nature on the cross. He destroyed the whole human being on the cross and resurrected as the new creation, the new man, the second Adam. And this second Adam has a new identity. That's why he's the second Adam. He is now not only a creature of God, he is a child of God. And this is the image of God, as we will study in Hebrew. This is the image of God. Jesus could say, who sees me, sees the Father. That's why it's the image of God. And the devil always copies that what God does. And Jesus is the only way to the Father. God's offer is Christ, the new identity, to all the captives of Satan that are here. And they all, through faith, can come into the new life, taking the new identity. Now, as we come to the end of the great controversy, the devil wants also to have his people on his side. And he must come through the image of the beast that introduces so that the beast can become politically powerful, to rule and kill. Yes, it must be a political power. Through the image of the beast, he comes into his power and he gives to everyone a new identity. You see, we are all born in a state and we get to be the citizens of that state. We have no choice where we are born. But now, the devil comes, as even God comes and says, you need a new identity, you need a new life to enter the kingdom of God. He comes and says, in order to buy and sell, in order to live on this earth, in order to have all the things you need, you must have a new identity. But it is not a name like God gives to his saved people, a name that no one knows except we know it, because it has in it the name of the Father and the name of the Son, but we have a part that is given us is specifically us, our way, our nature. We will see how our name is, but it will be unique because we are unique beings. Everyone has its own value that is, how can I say, unimaginable, great. But here, the mark is just a number. The mark of the beast is a new identity. And this new identity, the beast gives you just to be a number. Just to be a number. And yes, if you have the number, you can buy and sell. But you see, when one's got this mark, you see, everyone can return. He can put away his mask. He can put away the testing. He can stop giving the shots. But when he has the mark on his skin, that is the point of no return. There is no way back. Whoever takes the mark of the beast, that's what it says in the third angel's message. There is no way. He who worships the beast, who has it to bow to his image, who has the mark and the number of the beast, there is no way back. They will taste the wrath of God. So no one can get back from that what he took on him. There is still grace today to stop worshipping the image of the beast. But time runs slowly out, and God will bring his judgment. And we must put our question, who is God? Is it a killing germ, a killing bug? Who is God? And here I want to explain what I said about our Adventist interpretation of the last days. We know that the Bible and our prophet speaks about the Sabbath. And as we have an exclusive way of interpretation, we believe that when it says Protestantism and Catholicism, that it must mean only Protestantism and Catholicism. We don't include the rest of the religions into that. And we don't understand the context. And so we say, no, it's just a fight between Protestant and Catholicism. No. It's medicine included. It's Hinduism included. It's Buddhism. It's the whole religious world included there. But as the Jews in the time of Jesus had an exclusive way of interpretation, that means it can only be like that. There can nothing be added to understand it better. They rejected Christ. They didn't see him. They said, look, where is in the Bible is written then that a prophet comes from Nazareth? They were right. Yes, there is no prophet that comes from Nazareth. But he was not a prophet. He was the King of Kings. So they could not understand the Bible. And the Bible even says, Paul says, whenever they read the Bible, the law, they have a wall before their eyes. So we as Adventists have fallen into the deception of the devil, and he worked hard on it to reduce the word Sabbath to a day. That's why we're confused, thinking a day can be something that can be worshipped. Yes, there must be a thing that must be worshipped, and the function of its worshipping. And Ellen White, when she describes the image of the beast, she describes the functioning of the beast, that it will unite church and state. It will unite Catholicism with Protestantism, but it will unite all the world as we have seen it. It will unite all religions to one God. We have reduced, we have excluded that Sabbath is more than a day. But I hope we will study it when we go into Hebrews, because there describes the Sabbath rest and what the Sabbath means. The Sabbath is not just a day. The Sabbath is a principle that is to worship God. And the Sabbath means that you are not worshiping anyone else than God himself. That's Sabbath. And that's entering into the Sabbath rest. Because the wicked have no rest. They will have no rest, never. But here there is rest. Because we are free of fear. Because we are in God. We are with Him. And love expels all fear. So, Sabbath as a day, it's also a day, comes always when things are fulfilled. When God created the earth and He stopped creating, He put the Sabbath as a seal, as a day. When He brought out the children of Israel from Egypt, He gave them the Sabbath as a sign of delivering from the bondage of Egypt. It was a sign that they were delivered. And now, Sabbath is described and will come as a day only in the time when it is fulfilled. You know, you can never keep the Sabbath as the day if you're not holy, if you are not completely in God. Because if sinful nature is still reigning in your life, you can keep Sabbath as long as you want, as a day. It won't help. Because the Sabbath as a day is just put as a proof that the work of redemption has been fulfilled. And now the Adventists wait that there should be a controversy about the day. It will not come over the day. It is coming over worship. Look at the sound of the Song of Moses. It's about who is God and who you worship. And this people worship idols, not God. They provoke God to anger. As the same happens today. That's why He will bring out His wrath in the 7 plagues, because of His people worshiping an image, worshipping an other God, and still thinking they're worshipping God. What a tragedy. And Sunday as a day will also come as a seal that there is no return anymore for those who have worshipped the beast, his image, and took his mark and the number of the beast. It will be put there as a sign when everything is over. But we as Adventists await a controversy that should be with religious terms, not understanding the law that everything is religious. There is nothing that you do, that you think or do, that doesn't come either from God or from Satan. Nothing. There is not one neutral act that we can do. No one. But since we didn't understand the law, we say, well, it's about health. That has nothing to do with religion. Well, then why do we take the law and tell people, you must go and worship the image and put that serum in your body because you love your neighbor? How do we mix things? That is confusion. That is Babylon. If health has nothing to do with spiritual things, then why do you use spiritual things to impose a physical thing? Isn't that confusion? It's marvelous. So, let us be very clear. Sabbath is a name that says you fulfill the law because you worship only God. You acknowledge Him, that He is your Creator. That's the first angel's message. That's the song of Moses. And as God has written in the Bible through symbols, He has written through Ellen White also through the symbol of the Sabbath and Sunday. And you await the Sunday law, you have it already. It's the worshipping of the image of the beast. That's Sunday law. That's when you do those things that the beast, or better say the image of the beast, through all the governments is imposing on you. And you're not aware that you are worshipping another God. What a deception. Now, we started this quarter with this slide that says the origin of any information must be either from God, that is the truth, and from Satan, that are the lie. And we live from information. We live from what we take in ourselves, in our spirit. The truth is Christ. He is the image of God. And the lie is this ball, this image, that has many ways to show itself, because it can transform itself. It's a God, and it's the image of Satan. He never had so much success as through this item. Never had, and never will have again. Because this is his hour. This is his time where God allows him to spread the news. And the question is a very, very important one. Who do you believe? Who says the truth? Because you cannot combine Christ with Baal. You cannot combine him. They are opposites. Christ and the image of Satan has nothing in common. This is something that kills you, that you must fear. This came and died for you and to give you life. What a difference. And still people don't see it. I don't know, what do you want? But I want to stand with the 144,000. I want to stand with those on the sea of glass that took the victory over the beast, his image, his mark, and his number. None of them I want to have in my life. Because all that is idolatry, is believing and trusting in a God that does not exist, and in humans that spread the news. Time is very short. We cannot be neutral. And we cannot put them all together. Now, some people put it. But if you have the image of the beast, you can believe in Christ and you can do all things. You're still lost. And that's why Satan will have no, how can I say, he knows he has very less time, and so he pushes his agenda very fast forward. And no one will escape his pressure. No one will escape his pressure. And if someone doesn't have Christ in his life, he will not escape the pressure. No one will stand neutral in this battle. No one can stand neutral because there is no neutral point. You are either with Christ or either with Satan and his idol. And we must decide on which side we are. I don't want to be fooled by him. I want to trust my Lord and bear his name and his identity. And I hope you too. Amen.